Okay, I switched to a smaller brush here, and I've got some of that magenta. And you see right here where the edge of her nose is magenta, kind of a triangle. I'm filling that in. Okay, and then as it gets up into where her eye is, I'm adding a little bit of that ultramarine blue, and I'm to make it darker in here. And then going through this little eyebrow. Okay, and then there's gonna be, I think, like a light area of magenta where her eye is. Okay, and kind of blend that together a little bit. The blue and the magenta, I'm just bringing it down in here, wiping my brush off, blending it a little bit. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of the blue and put that right on the top, so it kind of looks like the top or like the eyelashes. So it's just a trick that, like, because the bottom part of her eye is a lighter color, then it sort of tricks you into thinking that that eye is open. Okay, and then this lip, I'm doing blue. I'm gonna switch to magenta, I think, for the lip. We're not doing a realistic thing here. We're doing a suggestion of what her face contours are. So this is like magenta with blue, magenta with ultramarine blue. And then this part under here, like the bottom lip, is like a lighter color. And then this is like a lighter color. There's a lighter color in here. You want to be careful not to mix this orangey. This is the orange that I had used down here for her neck. You want to be careful not to mix that with the blue. It'd be safer to dry it with a blow dryer, but I'm just trying not to, I'm trying to let it mix. Okay. Then for this other part of her face, I think I'm going to take a yellow and white, kind of like I did for this, but even maybe some of that orange with white and a little bit of yellow. So orange with white and yellow to make like a kind of a an orangey white, yellowy, orangey white, yellowy. So it's not as bright yellow as that other thing, like that. And then I'm going to use that over here on her face, the highlighted part of her face. They ate already. Okay, so this magenta is almost dry, and I'm going to start brushing a little bit into the magenta. So that's not a hard line right there. I'm going to do the same down here with this. I brush a little bit into that dark purple and brown, so it's not quite such a hard line. Okay, so now this in here looks, you know, really harsh. So what we're gonna do, and a lot of this is experimenting, right? Okay, I'm not sure why that turned dark, but what I'm gonna do right now, since this is all wet, I'm gonna dry this layer and then I'm gonna come back and put some layers on top of it. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna water down some straight magenta out of the tube, and I'm gonna put that on here just to tone down that dark purple. I'm gonna bring it up into this. So I'm glazing a magenta on top of her chin and her neck. Okay, so it's not so harsh where that purple is. And it's still too dark, so I'm adding a little bit of white to the magenta, just a tiny bit. So water and white and magenta, and I'm gonna glaze that on there while it's still wet. I'm using this smaller brush. So the darker thing is still showing, but it's not quite as dark as it was. Yeah, so it's starting to look not so strange. I'm going to take that and add a little bit of white to it and come down here and glaze that into that orange. Go back to the orange and yellowish and kind of come back up into that. Okay. All right, so also I'm going to come back here with that orangey kind of yellowish white orangey, and I'm going to start doing a little line of lighter color between those two darker colors and right under her eye there. So lighter color that I'm kind of brushing onto there. Now that was still wet, so I'm going to dry it. Okay, so I got some white, magenta, yellow, and I made this lighter color. And I'm just coming along here and putting that right in there. Putting it right here between the yellow and the magenta. Okay, and then I'm going to add a little more magenta to it, make it a little darker, and come in right there with that. Okay, I'm not going to take too much of those patches away because we don't want to just make it so blendy, but I'm just coming back with a little bit of lighter and then just kind of blending that and wiping my brush off, blending it, wiping the brush off. Okay, this is something a learning experience, so I just putting some highlights here, So don't freak out because of the way, if yours doesn't look like mine, or, you know, this is something that we're just going to keep playing with until we get it. Let's see, we're going to go here. And add a little bit of pink to that. A little bit of pink here. Okay, and then going back to that whitish yellowy color and add that there. Okay, so there's patches of color on her face. It's very light right here. I think I took away too much of the lightness there, so I'm going to put that back in. Okay, I'm going to come back and work on the face some more in a minute. But right now, I'm going to get this ultramarine blue and white. And I'm going to do some strokes over here. I'm covering up a lot of my words, I know, and I'm going to come back and fix that in a minute. But I've lost the shape of this chin right here, so I'm fixing that right now. Okay, I think I fixed it. Put some darker color down in here somewhere. Now, I didn't want to lose all of that, so I'm going to go back and get that off with my color shaper. You can see why I like this color shaper a lot, because you can wipe stuff off. Okay, so just use a paper towel. So I have some color on there and some letters shining through. Color shaper, color shaper. Yes. Exactly, wants to show. This is the part where it says, all the days of my life were written in your book before one of them came to be. So your eyes saw me. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so that's showing. Okay. Music down here. Okay, I'm letting you guys see that this up here got too light, so I dried it with a blow dryer, and then I'm coming back with some more blue. I don't think it looks right with that yellow all up there, so just kind of getting rid of that. Oops. This brush is too small. I'm gonna get the bigger brush, put a little bit of bluish on there, and just come back that way. I'm doing like almost a reverse dry brush now with the blue on top of that yellow. Okay, so that's more of what I wanted, which was for it to just kind of look like that light is shining behind her. And this in here, I'm gonna dry brush a little bit so it's not just pure white right in here. It can be a little bit. Just like a light blue here. But it's ultramarine blue and white. I'll put a little bit of magenta on there too to kind of go with her other thing that she's got on. There. A little magenta in there. Now, the last thing we need to do is kind of fix what's happening with her hands. And again, we're not gonna be realistic with this. Okay. It's gonna be pinkish white. So I'm mixing up some of that magenta with white. These hands are a little bit in shade down here. I'm gonna get a little bit of the magenta for like where the shadow is on her finger. So it's just magenta, white, a little bit of yellow. Just kind of blending that down into like a hand shape. I need some water on my brush. Some more white. So I had started out with like a magenta, lightened it up. I'm kind of blending it into that yellow there. And then this part here has a lot more magenta on it. Where her thumb is, right here. Okay, and then this part, I think we're going to do a little bit lighter. I'm going to add some highlights to this hand. Okay, so you see how this is kind of an abstract. It's not super detailed, and that's fine. It's just like a suggestion of a hand over here. I'm going to use magenta here on the sides of her fingers. Okay. Maybe a little bit more yellowish white. Not too much yellow, not enough white. Put some more white on her nose right there.